everyone. We'd like to welcome you to another It's a Grand Life, and you are going to be so blessed today. We've got the Michigan's Medicare specialist on our podcast, Debbie Stroup, and you're just good. And she is going to answer the big question that we all have when we find ourselves in this grand family position. How do I get the insurance coverage I need for my husband or my spouse and I, and then how do we take care of the kids? Because that family dynamic has changed. You're now the adoptive parents or you're the guardians, and someone's got to make sure that these little ones are covered. And then this whole idea of Medicare. As if you're like me, you're thinking that you get to 65 and it's so easy. You've been paying Blue Cross forever. Now you're going to have Medicare. It's the easiest decision you're ever going to make. Wrong. And Debbie, we are just so delighted that you're here with us on It's a Grand Life. And you got to tell us, how did you become Michigan's Medicare specialist?
Well, I was thrown into it years ago, kicking and screaming. I'm like, no, I don't know. I can't do that. It's too difficult. But without going into details, I kind of got tossed into it. Got licensed in the state of Michigan. And then was just doing under age 65, what everybody lovingly calls Obamacare. Did that for a few years, but I realized that there was a niche in this market called Medicare, where I saw folks over the age of 65 basically being taken advantage of. It happens all day long. Between the solicitors on the television and the solicitors calling you in the junk mail and the well-meaning neighbors, family, friends, doctors who tell you what to do, and it's all wrong. And so I decided I'm going to force myself to learn something new and understand this, because I'm going to be 65 sometime soon. And so I wanted to make sure that I knew how to do it. So that's kind of why I went into it. But it's really just blossomed since then.
Well, when I was watching one of your interviews on Channel 4 here in Detroit, you were talking about the importance of a personalized Medicare plan. And so in other words, one size does not fit all. And but could you just talk about that a little bit for our listeners? And just imagine our folks, they're grandparents that are now raising grandchildren. Medicare is a new concept for them. And why do we need a personalized plan?
So it's really super, super critical that you find a plan that works with all of your doctors, not just some of them, most of them, all of them. And you also want to find an insurance plan that works with every one of your prescriptions. And some of those prescriptions might be a controlled substance for pain. It might be insulin, it might be albuterol, or it could just be lisinopril. So it's really important that you find a plan where all those factors are in network for you. And then you go even deeper. Okay, I want to make sure that my pharmacy is included, right? Okay, yeah, I guess so. I didn't even think about that. And I want a plan where my physical therapy is going to be covered. Okay, well, covered means different things to different people. Covered might mean, in your mind, I want it covered at 100%, or covered to somebody else might mean I want it for $20 a visit. So it's really important that when you deal with a professional, that professional asks you a lot of questions. Not only give me all of your doctors, give me all of your prescriptions, but what's your pharmacy? Do you have a physical therapist, a speech therapist, an occupational therapist? How often do you go? You know, I talk to some people where they just go once a month. I talk to others that go 3 times a week. Okay, a $20 copay 3 times a week is a big difference between $50 a copay 3 times a week. So that's really important. Also, I know mental health is super important. Okay, so they may give me a mental health professional, and I look that up, There are several plans out there that charge you a per visit, like a copay, $20, $40 copay. And you're like, well, that doesn't sound too bad because the psychotherapist might charge $150 to $250 an hour. But guess what? What if you go more than once a week? All right. Well, let's say you go once a week. That's $200 a month. Wouldn't you rather find a plan where that psychotherapist charges maybe $0 a month or $5 a month? And so it's really important that the professional that you're working with goes in depth with you. It has nothing to do with just the price or the name. And let me just explain to you about that. Most people pick an insurance plan, a Medicare plan, based on emotion and not fact. They pick a plan because they think it's the best. They've been with it forever and they think it's the best. So they go with that plan. Maybe their employer offers it. Maybe the teachers union offers it. It's been what they do and they just keep going with it. That's emotion. You should pick a plan based on facts. And all of those different things that we were just talking about are super important. What's the premium? Can I go out of state? What's the deductible? What's the copay? So it's important to base it on facts versus emotion.
Debbie, folks on Medicare historically have not been thrilled with change.
No.
We're older. We don't want change. But
Nope.
When should I, as a Medicare beneficiary, when should I absolutely positively call you about making a change with my Medicare coverage?
So if you're aging into Medicare, whether you're turning 65 or you've been working and now you're going to retire and now you need full Medicare coverage, that would be a perfect opportunity to speak to a Medicare specialist or a professional. Or if you're in a plan right now and you just want to make sure that it's the best plan for you going into the following year, then open enrollment in the fall is your opportunity. And that's when you see all of those very misleading commercials on television. You're bombarded by 10 or 20 calls a day. You get a pile of junk mail sitting on your kitchen table. You've got your neighbor telling you what to do. You've got your sister telling you what to do. And just throw it all away. But that's the time that you can really take a deep dive and to make sure that you're on the right plan. And there's no judgment on my part. You come in and you're not on the right plan. It's like, let's get this fixed. Let's move you into the right plan, because you want to know what my goal is? My goal is that you just go along in Medicare, not even thinking about Medicare. You should be so into the right plan that you never think about it. And then when you do, you're like, what is that girl's name? Oh yeah, that's right. I've got her business card up on my refrigerator. Let me give her a call. That's how you should be going through Medicare.
Well, what about the times where, when you're going to see your physician, you're getting your annual physical, and all of a sudden he or she changes your medication? And your medication, maybe it's not really kosher with your current Medicare plan. Is that a good time to reach out to you?
It is, because anytime throughout the year, I would probably let you know that Medicare requires a certain number of drugs per classification. So let's say you're on one high blood pressure medication, and then your doctor says, let's move to this medication. You can give me a call if you and I've been working together. One, I'll tell you which pharmacy is going to be the least expensive. And if it's not covered, I'll say, you know what? That particular medication isn't covered as well as these other 3 medications. And then you can go back to your doctor and say, you know what? This medication that we were suggesting isn't quite covered. But then that gives you the power. I want to keep this one that my doctor is recommending. Or I can go back to my doctor and say, my insurance doesn't want to cover that as well. Is it really critical, or could I try one of these others? And 99% of the time, you'll be able to switch. your doctor will say, sure, yeah, that's no problem. They just pick something out of a hat that maybe they've been using forever, but it might not be the best one for you. And I know people in the older generation really, really, really rely on what their doctor says. They pretty much do what their doctor says. The Gen Z, they're like, so we have to become advocates for ourselves. When we go talk to that doctor, we can't just say, oh, okay, yeah. We have to say, why? Why are we changing? Do I have a choice? Is there something else that I can do? We have to have the control and the power of our health care, because it's not like it was years ago where you could just walk in and everybody accepted everything. It's different now. And that's why it's really important that you have a professional in your corner that you can continually rely on when something comes up.
Absolutely, because that little tweak in the prescriptions can be $300, $400, $500 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there is a substitute or a generic that would do the same good that medication could do, that would be a significant savings for the patient. And that's why they should call you at Michigan Medicare Specialist. Let me give you her number right now, 248-227-0347. And I'm imagining, Debbie, that they could call you anytime and this, what you're describing, and I hope our listeners are getting this. This is not a little form that they fill out, give to you, and you bless it. You go to bat for them, and you go through the weeds with their insurances and with, oh, you want to have behavioral health? Well, maybe Priority Health has something better than Aetna. Maybe our Aetna is better over here, and you know those little nuances of the coverage, and that's why they need you.
Exactly. And it's not just based on price anymore. And it's not just based on, I think Aetna's the best, or I think whatever is the best, or I heard that that's a bad plan. That's another thing. If somebody says to stay away from a plan, that's a red flag. That tells me that they're in the wrong plan. Okay. It has nothing to do with the name of the company. It has everything to do with the plan that they're in. So if somebody says to you, oh, Nike tennis shoes are bad. No, they're not bad. You're wearing a size 6. Why are you in a size 4? So it has nothing to do with the name of the plan and everything to do with the quality of the plan that matches your needs. So yeah, it's super, super critical that you're in the right plan.
Speaking of the right plan, our listeners, many of them are raising their grandkids, and many of them are on Medicare. Can they just add their grandkids to their Medicare plan?
No, unfortunately, they cannot. So, and you cannot have more than one person on your Medicare plan. So when you were under age 65 and you were working, or you were getting your insurance through the Affordable Care Act, the marketplace online, you could add as many people in your family as you wanted to. You could even add your kids that even if they weren't living in your own household, they were away to college, or maybe they were even married, but they were under the age of 26, and but no, you have to add them separately. And it's really important that you deal with somebody who understands the Affordable Care Act and maybe can take them through that. Or I know a lot of folks that, because of the situation that they're in, they grandma and grandpa might be on Medicare, but child might be on Medicaid. Right. So that's a great benefit. So to me, it's important that we just get the child on the right, get them on the right path so that you all can enjoy your grand life, taking them to school, going to Disney World, whatever it is, sitting down doing their homework. Insurance should not be the number one thing on your mind. It's good to have people in your corner.
Absolutely. So I keep hearing about these health savings accounts. Do you work with those as well? And what is an HSA?
So a health savings account are for folks that might still be working, and then they can contribute to that at work. And once you're on Medicare, you can't really contribute to that anymore.
Okay.
But you can take that money and use it towards co-pays or paying for prescriptions, What you can't use it for is paying for the premiums if it's a Medigap plan. And I don't want to get into the weeds with that, but that HSA money, you can use that in Medicare. You can use that in your world.
Okay.
And what you'd want to do is talk to your tax professional, your accountant, your attorney, and how your financial advisor, and how the best way to use that money is in your Medicare world.
That is great information. I didn't know that. That's really important to know. So, what would you say is the biggest mistake you've seen when folks are transitioning to Medicare?
Picking a plan based on emotion. They pick a plan based on they think the name of this insurance company is the best, or they're on TV. They have commercials on TV. Of course, they're the best, or the one that they've heard about the most. And I'm guilty of this when during voting season, if I don't do my homework and I get to the polls, I might be tempted to just vote for the one that I've seen the most billboards on, right? Oh, I saw that person's name, click. Okay, bad idea. That's based on emotion instead of fact. And so it's the same way with Medicare, based on emotion instead of fact. I think this is the best plan. My doctor told me to get it. Okay, is your doctor a Medicare professional? No, they don't know everything about Medicare. If they did, then it would say Medicare specialist under their name. Okay, so it has blossomed into a huge thing where there's just not one person in town anymore. There are so many Medicare plans out there. And so I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I run into is just simply that folks are not in the right plan, and it's costing them money. And how's it costing them money? Because their medications aren't covered, their insulin's not covered, their pain medication's not covered, their primary care doctor's not covered. That's all money that comes flying out of your pocket at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And with some of our listeners, because this is a new situation for them raising their grandchildren, there may be a lot of behavioral health issues going on, and you would really help them find a plan that had the best behavioral health coverage if they wanted to talk to a behavioral health professional, as opposed to paying all that out of pocket, right?
Yeah, so it's really important. So when you talk to a Medicare professional and they get all of your information, that Medicare professional should really do a deep dive. They don't need to know why you see a surgeon or a dermatologist or a mental health therapist, but they need to know, how often do I go? Okay, I go see my dermatologist 4 times a month. Okay, that's really important. So I find a plan where your dermatologist, or let's say your mental health therapist, I go see a mental health therapist twice a week. Okay, that's really important. So now I've got 5 plans where your mental health, all of your doctors and prescriptions, so everything is the same, okay? But I know that you see your dermatologist 3 times a month, and I know that you see your mental health therapist 5 times a month. So guess what? Now I'm going to hyper focus on those 2 issues. Where can I find a plan where it's the cheapest to go see your dermatologist and your mental health therapist? That's something that a commercial on television or the pile of junk mail on your kitchen table is not going to help you with. So that's why it's super important. And I can't speak for everybody, but I know that my cost is $0. There's never a cost to work with me, ever. I don't work for an insurance company. I'm trained by Medicare to help you get into the right plan anywhere in the state of Michigan. And I stay up on Medicare. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C. fighting for Medicare rights. There's a lot of things coming down that people in Washington think they know the best, but they don't. And so it trickles down. And so we're out there fighting for you and your rights to make sure that you have everything you need for Medicare.
I think that is so important. And, when we are having spent the past 35 years in healthcare, I know that Medicare is looking to reduce costs because there are 10,000 of us turning 65 every day. So that means more and more folks are going on Medicare. And so right when we need it, they're thinking of cutting costs, and we need folks in Washington advocating for us. So thank you for doing that. But I just hope our listeners just pick up the phone, give you a call, introduce themselves, and discuss how you can customize the best plan for them and their families. Or maybe it's Aunt Betty up in Howell and who's in the wrong plan and needs to talk to you, because sometimes we need a referral to talk to a Medicare specialist like yourself. And I just really appreciate what you're doing. And I know that it's an absolute outstanding service for our listeners. So,
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So Debbie, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Is it your website? I know I gave your number earlier, but is that the best place to get in touch with you?
So yeah, we're there Monday through Friday, just normal regular business hours, 9 to 4, 9 to 5. You can leave a message. We'll call you back within the next day. If it's a Friday, we'll try and call you back on Monday. But I'll give you a hint. The fastest way to reach me is through email. But I know there's folks out there that don't do email. That's okay. Leave a voicemail and we'll call you back. But if you want kind of a quick way to get a hold of me, email is the best. And it's the name of my business. It's Debbie, Debbie @ and then it's all one word, Michigan Medicare Specialist, it's singular.com. Like you, I've got a Facebook page. I have a website. We're starting up podcasts, so I'm so excited about that. So we try and touch all of the seniors in different ways that's most comfortable for them.
And if I know our producer at all, he's going to have all your information at the bottom of our screen when we're done editing this podcast. So please reach out to Debbie Stroup from the Michigan Medicare Specialist, 248-227-0347. Even if it's a dumb question, who would be better to ask than her? And get to the bottom of it. And but Debbie, we just thank you so much for being here on It's a Grand Life. And I promise you've been a blessing to our listeners, and can't wait to have you on again to give us an update when things change with Medicare, if that's okay.
It is truly my pleasure. I mean, I feel it with you, and I hope that other folks feel it with me. This is my passion. This is what gets me up every morning. Past jobs, you're like Sunday night, I don't want to get up and go to work. Not me. It's like, woo, I don't mind it at all. Every day is a Medicare day for me. I enjoy it. My goal is let you go live your best life, your most grand life, and don't worry about Medicare. So I know it's in your voice and in your heart and in your mind as well. So it truly is a pleasure to talk to you. I've learned so much from you as well. So thank you.
Well, Debbie, it's been my pleasure to get to know you a little bit. And I haven't talked to anybody who's really a specialist in Medicare. It's such a small subspecialty that I really hope our listeners take advantage of the time we've had today and reach out and get connected. So we will see you again on It's a Grand Life, but thank you so much for being our guest today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for another It's a Grand Life. Remember to never waste your pain. God can use your situation to bless others even halfway around the world. Be sure and subscribe to It's a Grand Life on our Facebook page, as well as YouTube and any of the various podcast channels that feature the Grand Life podcast. When it comes to raising a grand family, remember the words of the Apostle Paul, who said in 1 Corinthians 13, "Love is patient, love is kind, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails." In leading your grand family, it's going to take faith, hope, and a whole lot of love. Please reach out to me. I can be a blessing to you and pray for you, or help you connect to free resources that can make your journey a little easier.